Hello there and welcome to another live chapter reading for Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Today I shall be reading from Out of Time, Westbeach Book 4 by Toni, Denise. Chapter 1. It was hard work starting something from scratch, but Jessica was loving it. She had decided after her cousin moved to this sleepy town that she would join him and leave the pressures of the resort behind for a while. She was good at managing a family business and meeting everyone's needs, but she was tired of it. And this seemed like a good place to relax. She might go back before it was all said and done, but in the meantime this was her place. She'd bought a beautiful turn-of-the-century home with several rooms and tons of space and decided she would turn it into a bed and breakfast. It didn't even really need to make money, she just needed something to do. After a month of living here and getting the renovation underway herself, the only negative was the constant presence of her cousin. He meant well, but if she wanted help, she could ask for it or hire someone who would listen. When Alex showed up with his friends, they would politely muscle her out of the way and take over whatever she was doing. They made for good progress on getting things done, but she had a need to get it done herself. That's all she wanted them to understand. Alex hadn't been by yet today, but something told her he wouldn't be long before he was. She worked harder at sanding the trim as she thought. Her goal was to take off the years of old paint laid on the wood and then finish it with a more natural stain. She'd be working on each room as she could, just spending hours sanding. After a while, she stood and stepped back, admiring her work. She was finished with the front room, which would be a parlour area for guests. She let her mind wander into what the room would look like. The furniture, the fireplace, a rug, all the decorations, she could hardly wait. "Hey," Jessica jumped at the sound of Alex's voice behind her. "Hey, it looks good in here." He walked around, taking in every inch of her work. "Did you do all this by hand?" "Of course." "You know it would be much faster to use a sander. I can get started on the other rooms." "No thanks, I'm just going to do this myself." Jessica put her hands on her hips and stared him down. "It would save so much time." "I know," she sighed. He was really only trying to help. "I want to do this. I want to do it my way and by myself. I will call for help if I need it, promise." She put her hand on Alex's arm and gave it a light squeeze. "I don't understand you." "You don't have to." "Fair enough," he headed for the door. "Promise me you'll call if you get in over your head." "I will." Sending him a smile, she watched as he left and then went back to her work. She hadn't been long scraping paint away again when she heard the door again. "I promise I don't need any help right now." "Well, okay then, but you called me." She dropped her tools and spun around, nearly running right into Will. "I'm sorry, I thought you were Alex again. You still dropping by?" "All the time." "It's protective." "Overprotective, you mean?" Jessica added an eye roll as she led Will to the kitchen where he could set up his computer. "You sure you want to talk websites and stuff already? You don't look ready to open anytime soon." "I'm not, but I want to have multiple things started so I can be ready at the same time, when I'm ready to open." She also knew Will could use the work with his time here turning out to be longer than anyone ever thought. "Let's get started then." Time passed as she and Will discussed what she wanted on her website. Despite going for an older style bed and breakfast, Jessica wanted a modern website with the ability to make reservations. Most of her customers likely would be locals getting away for the weekend without needing to go far, but she wanted it to be easy for whomever stayed here. Will took notes and made suggestions. He even showed her a few examples of what he thought she might like. All were right on point with what she wanted. Will added a list of photos to add. Some might change in the end, but it was a good base list. "Once you're there, I would recommend a photographer and, depending on how you feel, maybe an interior designer." Will closed his laptop. "Oh, I can design." "I'm sorry, it's a good suggestion, you didn't know. I redesigned the resort after I moved high enough up to be allowed by my uncle to do it." "That's awesome. Maybe you could give me some tips on my sister's house before she comes home." Jessica would love to spend time with Will, but doubted she knew what his sister wanted. "Do you have any idea yet when she's coming home?" Will shook his head. "She called last weekend and said soon. She keeps saying that." "I'm sorry." Jessica reached across the table and laid one hand on his. She was genuinely sorry that his sister had been in rehab this long with no end in sight. "It's okay. The kids and I have got a great routine so far. I even joined the PTA." He ducked his head as he said it. "That's awesome. I know they're happy to have you there and involved." "Actually, I could use a hand if you know anything about baking." "That's more of Sam's thing. As a bakery owner, nothing was further from the truth." "1, I like Alex and would kill me if I asked Sam for a favour. 2, I think that would be a little like cheating to have a professional help me. I don't know. I'm at a loss." Will put his hand on the back of his neck as though easing tension. Jessica noticed he did this often. "I can bake okay, and I wouldn't mind helping." When do you need something, and what is it you need? Just cupcakes for a bake sale. These kids have to help with it. Poor guy looked so nervous that even if she didn't already like the kids, she would agree. I assumed as much. It's no big deal, just tell me when. Saturday. If you're too busy though, please say so. Will, I already agreed. I really don't mind. She made a mental list of what she would need to get. Do you want to do it here or at your place? It was known that Will was staying in the poorer side of town and hadn't invited anyone over from their friend group. No one really saw Will outside the bakery or outside town in general. Jessica figured he would stay at her place, but she wanted to throw it out there. She nearly choked when Will answered, "We can do it at my place. That way the kids don't get in the way of your work here." Jessica swallowed back her cough and smiled at the same time. Truthfully, she was ready to giggle at the fact that Will had invited her over. It was a big step. She wanted more with him, but they both had a lot on their plates, so she hadn't pressed to see if he was interested in more. But this seemed like maybe he was. "Sounds great," she squeaked it out on accident, and Will looked at her funny. "I could bring everything when I come. Just let me know when, the address." "If you'd rather do it here—" No, she was making a mess of this. "Sorry, I was just surprised. I'd be happy to come over." Looking directly in the eye, she tried to convey how serious she was. "Thanks for inviting me." Will nodded and looked away. "How's Friday afternoon? I literally have no plans, so whatever works for you and the kids." "Okay, I can make dinner, thank you." It felt strangely like he was asking her on a date, and she suddenly felt her own butterflies creeping up in her stomach. "Can't wait. Thanks again." "You're welcome," she smiled as he got up to go. "I'll text you the address." "Great." She watched him go after that, feeling strange at the end of the conversation. Somehow things had gotten extremely awkward, and she couldn't help but feel responsible, like she'd blown the magic of the moment away with her stupid comment. She blew out a breath and shrugged. She couldn't fix it now, and it could only get better from here. She went back to scraping paint and making a list of everything she would need to make the cupcakes. He was lucky it was one of the few things she could pull off. Truth be told, though, she would have committed to helping even if she didn't know how. Chapter 2. Will beat himself up the whole way home. He should have definitely chosen her place. What was he thinking, inviting her over? And now he had to cook too. At this point, he just prayed his neighbours stay sober enough until she left, because when they drank, they fought, and it was loud and embarrassing. Granted, it was his sister's place and a far cry from his apartment back in Virginia Beach, the one he'd just given the lease upon. He had 2 months to get his things out of it before it was no longer his. He loved it, the beach views, the modern look, the gym, the pool, but he couldn't see continuing to pay for it, not knowing when Jennifer was coming home. It had been months when it was supposed to be a few weeks, and there was no end in sight. She had always dabbled in drugs, but they weren't close, and he didn't know how bad things were until his parents had called and explained things. His parents were in no shape to take care of 2 kids again, so Will had dropped everything to come and stay with the kids. At this point, with as bad as rehab seemed to be going for, he was thinking of getting a place in town, so he could stay around the kids more. Tabitha and Daniel had quickly crept in and become his whole life in no time. He didn't even mind being here and taking care of them. He was sad to lose the apartment, but the kids needed him. They needed the stability and attention he was providing, even if it was short-term, but now he was thinking of making it long-term. Jennifer hadn't been well for a while, if the kids' stories were anything to go off. They were often home alone, and he didn't think they had ever had a home-cooked meal before he came. The lacks of pots, pans and dishes told him all he needed to know. Before anything else, he set about making decent meals for the kids. They immediately took to it and started planning meals with him and even helping him cook. That's how he made his bond with the kids. They accepted him in the kitchen, grateful for the meals, and everything else was fairly smooth. Nothing was perfect by any stretch, but the 3 of them had found a way to make it work and get on with life. He actually enjoyed going to the school plays and events. His regret was the bake sale, but now he had help with that at least. He still had his work, and he could do damn near all of it remotely. He didn't need to meet with Jessica to stay in person. He could have done it all through emails and an occasional call like he usually did. He wanted to see her, though. Seeing and listening to how her mind worked and the plans she had always intrigued him. She wasn't hard to look at either. He wasn't sure where they stood with each other, though. He hadn't planned on asking for help with the bake sale while he was there. It had just come out, but she seemed happy to help. He only hoped she really was. He had 2 days to get the house ready for company, the kids ready for her, and to check himself from saying anything else. Pulling up to the small house, he parked and had just opened the door when the kids came running in from school. "How was school?" "Good," they both answered as backpacks hit the floor and they took off for the kitchen. Joining them, he rinsed an apple off for himself, and the kids rattled on about something that had happened on the bus. The story had dragged on for almost half an hour before he even realised what they were doing, avoiding homework. "Go get your stuff out," they whined and slowly moved to their butt bands. The sooner we get started, the sooner we'll be done. I hate homework. Not a huge fan myself, but it's got to get done. I have something to tell you guys though, so get to the table and let's get started. They still weren't excited, but they did move a little quicker. Books came out and notebooks were opened at least. Homework wasn't his favourite part of the day either. He was also tired of being told that's not how we would do it in school. As a response to his attempts at assistance, online search engines and videos had taught him that they were right, and he was deep into learning a new way to do basic math. It was not fun, but he wasn't going to let the kids down. He wanted to be there to help them. As he finished checking the last of their assignments, they started pressing for what he had to tell them. My friend has agreed to come over here and help us make the cupcakes for the bake sale. Is it Sam? Will rolled his eyes. She would probably help, but it was like cheating at the bake sale to have a professional help. Plus, Alex would probably flip his lid over it. No, it's Jessica. She can bake. Why wouldn't she be able to? I don't know. We are going to make a dinner in exchange for her taking time out of her busy day to help us with this on Friday. I expect you both to help, so what should we make her? Spaghetti was the resounding answer from both kids. He didn't know why they liked it so much. Spaghetti it is. It didn't take long for everything to be completely cleared away and the kids were off to their rooms to play. He shot off a quick text to Jessica before he started in on the chicken Alfredo for tonight. Hope you like spaghetti. He couldn't help but smile when she wrote back immediately. Sure do, can't wait. He put music on and went about making dinner for the kids. As soon as they came in and out of the kitchen to show him something, they did. It was almost at the exact same time, one not to be outdone by the other. He loved it though. Loved listening to them explain what they were showing him and loved seeing their faces as he praised their work. They were just sitting down to eat when his phone rang again. It was his sister. He sighed, wondering what she had to say this time, but he went ahead and answered. Hey sis, how's it going? Guess what? He wasn't sure why, but his stomach filled with dread at that question. I haven't a clue. They said as long as nothing changes I can come home in 2 weeks. Oh, that's awesome. Put me on speaker and let me tell the kids. He didn't have any right to deny her, so he did, and listened to the excitement between the kids and their mum at the fact that she was finally coming home. It wasn't that he didn't want her to, it was just that they had been there before. It was always something that she was coming home and then something changed at the last minute, and the kids were always upset. Part of him was selfish too, wondering what to do with himself once she returned. He had made up his mind that he would have to stay here locally. He couldn't stay literally with them due to space. Plus he and his sister hadn't ever gotten along well as kids, and he had a feeling that would still be the case. Hello, Tabitha said, pulling Will back into the conversation. Sorry, what? I was thinking. Do you think Jessica will help us make more cupcakes for Mum if we make her dinner then too? Maybe. I'll ask her later. Satisfied with the answer for now, they cleaned up their dinner mess and he reminded them to shower and brush their teeth. It was getting late, so he did the dishes and read to the kids before settling down to his computer to work on Jessica's website. Unfortunately, his brain wasn't in it tonight, and after an hour he just shut his laptop and got himself ready for bed. Jessica was on his mind heavy though, and he wanted to talk to someone. He debated texting her before laying down. Finally, he sent her a message. You up? Yep, you okay? Yeah. What's up? Sadly, now he was wondering what to even say. Will, you're sure you're good? He was still debating what to say when his phone rang. He answered apologetically. Hey, I'm sorry. What's wrong? Nothing. Honestly, I shouldn't have bugged you. I'm sorry. Come on, Will, I know something's up. How? He was genuinely curious how she was thinking something was wrong when he hadn't said anything and had barely started a conversation. You don't text me late and I just have a feeling. Am I wrong? Yes, no, I don't know. He sighed and laid back on the bed. He didn't even know himself what his real issue was. Talk to me. I shouldn't have texted. I don't even know why I did. No take backs. You can't get out of it now. Just tell me what's wrong. My sister is supposed to come back in 2 weeks. The line was silent for a moment before he heard her moving around. For real this time? She asked quietly. I think so. It could change again like always. But it feels real this time? Yeah, that's good, right? I mean, of course, it's just... He let himself trail off and let it hang between them. Where does that leave you? I don't know. Do you want to talk it out? She sounded nervous, like she wasn't sure what to say. I don't know. It's okay not to know. It's hard not to know. True, let's try this. Do you want to go home or stay here? Here has become home now, I think. Do you want some company to talk to? She sounded more nervous than he had ever heard from her. Normally very confident demeanour. It's okay, I'll figure something out. You sure? Yeah, sorry to bug you so late. 1, it's not bugging. 2, it's not that late, only 10 p.m. 3, I don't mind, promise. He couldn't help but smile a little at that. She was back to full confidence now, and he knew he hadn't been a bother without a doubt. Still nothing. Come over tomorrow? Shocked by the invitation, it took him a moment to reply. It's okay if you don't want to, or if you're too busy. No pressure. No, it's not that. I would love to. I was just surprised. Don't be. Good night, Will. I'll see you tomorrow any time. Good night, Jessica. He could hear her yawn as she hung up the phone and smiled to himself. He was going to have a good night and hopefully a good day tomorrow. Hearing Jessica's voice had calmed him a bit. He had reasons to stay in town aside from the kids, so it wasn't like he would be lost when he was no longer needed here every day. And he could stay close enough to keep an eye on the kids. It was that last thought that really finalised things for him. It wasn't that he didn't know what to do with himself. He was genuinely worried that when she returned she might not still be ready to be a mum. He was worried about the kids, worried about her relapsing, and worried in general. Pushing it all from his mind, he tried to think of Jessica and tomorrow. He thought of her invite and tried not to make too much of it, despite doing exactly that. I hope you enjoyed the chapter reading and that you'll go check out the book. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.